I call the Planning Commission meeting for August 15th, 2024 to order. We'll begin with the pledge. Jackie, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Crocker?
Excused.
Mr. Haddon?
Here.
Mr. Perkovich?
Excused.
Mr. Rossetti?
Here.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Here.
Mr. Varga?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from our regular meeting, July 25th, 2024.
So moved? Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rossetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, on tonight's agenda, we have 3 public hearings, and we will follow this format. First, the applicant will have the opportunity to explain what they would like to do at a particular location. Second, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this proposal will be given the opportunity. Finally, anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be afforded the time to do so, or some people may just have questions, and we'll try to get those answers. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to remove from the table a conditional use permit to allow a recreational facility, Wilson's Karate and Fitness Studio at 9107 Menor Avenue. Is that applicant here? Okay, please come up.
Okay, we need to
Yeah, go ahead.
make the motion to remove from the table.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rossetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes?
Mr. Cook?
Yes, I see that applicant's here. Please give us your name and your address and tell us a little bit about what you want to do.
All right, my name is Kenneth Wilson. My address is 3057 Burns Road, Madison, Ohio. I would like to open a karate and fitness studio on Menor Avenue, 9107. And I'll be teaching the martial arts and fitness kickboxing.
Oh.
That's it.
All right, hold on one second. Anybody wishing to speak for this proposal? Anybody wishing to speak against this proposal? This public hearing is closed. Kathy, anything from the administration?
Maybe if the applicant could just speak to the parking agreement that was originally secured when this first came forward, if that's still moving forward.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Anything from the commission members? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with the 8 conditions.
Second?
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rossetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2, we have a conditional use permit to allow a personal care service as a similar use at 8500 Station Street, Unit 240. Is that applicant here? Please come up, give us your name and address, tell us a little bit about what you want to do.
My name is Caroline Pivovar. My address is 9231 Creekwood Drive in Menor. And I am seeking a conditional use permit for a fine line tattoo and microblading studio within the Matchworks building.
Thank you. Hold one second. Anybody wishing to speak for this proposal? Anybody against? This public hearing is closed. Kathy, anything from the administration?
Just like to make a comment, the engineering department had commented that per Menor ordinances on tattoo parlors, a toilet room is required for the tenant space. We received written confirmation from the Lake County General Health District that the existing restrooms that are within the establishment on the same hallway do satisfy this requirement, so there's no need for an additional facility within the suite itself.
Thank you. Anything from the administration? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with the 2 conditions.
Second?
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rossetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes?
Mr. Cook?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a formal rezone of 2.6 acres from M1 Light Manufacturing to B2 General Business at 5855, 5865, 5879 Heisley Road. See that applicant's here. Please give us your name and address.
My
Tell
name's
us a
Dave.
little- Tell us a little about your name.
My name's Dave Sambor. Address is 2094 Stony Hill Road, Hinckley, Ohio. This project here is, our request is for rezoning of a total of, there's 3 parcels. This rezoning was originally requested for all 3 to be rezoned, combine a rezone from M1 to B2. Per our last meeting and getting the feedback of the concerns of the amount of M1 that would be reduced, we've gone back and are only seeking rezoning for the 2.68 acres from M1 to B2, and the other 8.73 acres would remain M1 zoning. This, for the purpose of this, is for a convenience store / fueling station for a Sheetz at this location. In reviewing things in the staff report, there was a couple things of mention we want to just reflect on. One is that it does call for minimum lot width of 150 foot at the front setbacks, which we are in compliance with. A number of items which we do appreciate that were in the staff report as well dealt with the development plan, and we do understand that will be a separate process that we'll come through to review those items with. And a couple of those just to highlight. One was the request or the interest in a left turn lane. And that we've done our traffic studies, which determined at that point the need wasn't there for it, but yet we do understand there are some safety concerns. And so as the staff report says, we are going to continue ongoing conversations with the city engineer to find out the appropriate resolution to that component. There were some other concerns on the development plan as far as the parking count and location of the fuel pumps. And again, those are things too we'll take under consideration, and I understand that'll be part of our submission with the development plans with that. Overall, we did see a couple conditions recommended in the staff report. 3 of them. First one being that no development would occur prior to the split, which we understand and agree with. We do understand too that a conditional use permit in the B2 would be required outside of any rezoning, which we understand and agree with that. And we also do understand the rezoning condition of that the vehicular ingress and egress of the northernmost access drive would just be a right in, right out only at that location. So we are requesting the rezoning of just that 2.68 acre parcel from a M1 to a B2.
Thank you. Is there anybody here wishing to speak for this proposal? Anybody wishing to speak against this proposal? This public hearing is closed. Kathy, anything from the administration?
Certainly answer any questions that you have. Our staff report was pretty extensive in breaking down the rezone as well as the development plan.
Thank you. Anything from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
this is more directed to the administration. Is the traffic study provided was done on July 2nd, which is a holiday week. Do we feel that that's representative of the true traffic on Isley Road during a normal business week? I mean, any thoughts to that?
There wasn't a specific comment made by the engineering department on it. Maybe the applicant has anything they want to comment or add to that. I don't know.
If I could have, we're going to have someone else speak. She actually is the one who did performed the traffic study.
Okay.
Just give us your name and address for the clerk, please.
Judith Bennett, 727 Eastland Avenue, Ravenna, Ohio. And yeah, GPD group, with me in the lead, did the traffic study on this. We looked at that. We don't count day before or after a major holiday. We felt that with the way the 4th of July felt on the Thursday this week, people would be taking off the Friday, but the second being the Tuesday was, in our opinion, going to be a pretty normal travel day. People were taking the long weekend. They weren't taking the week before.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have another question.
Sure. Have it.
This is more for the site itself. A lot of wooded land. This area has, I saw the drainage study, but there's no mention of any wetlands were investigated and whether or not these qualify as wetlands. Were those looked at in the drainage study?
Josh Lyons with GPD Group. At this early stage, we have not evaluated for wetlands with an environmental consultant, but I did look on Google wetland mappers that we can have available public information on, and there was nothing that was shown on those websites.
Okay. I bring it up because just down the street and across the street is a wetland, and a defined one, and it's a concern because of the Army Corps of Engineer permits, the credits and anything else that would possibly be affecting this project.
Sure. As we would go through the development plan, we would look extensively into that.
No other questions?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I said no other questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anything else?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Parker?
I just have concerns about the traffic study or about the conclusion of the traffic study. I don't need to have a defense. I'm just pointing out something, and that is that that's already a pretty, Heisley's pretty busy road. At the Diamond Center, we have turning lanes. At the new Bluefin Car Wash, we have turning lanes, new turning lanes. Hendricks, there's turning lanes. And everything between Pinecone and where Tyler and Pine Needle is, there's a continuous turning lane there. And the fact that, like, the most recent study for the Blue Falls Car Wash, they're probably creating less traffic than your facility will create. And there's at least this remaining parcel behind you that'll be using the same road. I can't see, this is just my own feeling, not based on science, that there wouldn't be a requirement here for a turning lane.
And Mr. Varga, I recognize that. And again, that's why we're still talking with the city engineer. We understand it could be beyond what the study shows if there is more of a safety issue or some inherent issue. So I know that's something that we will continue to work with the city engineers to review that as we develop. We understand that'll be a process of the approval of the development plan of making sure that is resolved in order for this project to move forward at that time.
Yeah, because I think the Blue Falls, I guess that's their name, they had a traffic study. They don't have a street intersecting across the street from them, and they were required to put in the turning lane. So it's just not setting right with me. I'm not saying that there's anything specifically wrong with the study. It's just that the logic is that almost everything else that's happening on that street is starting to cause the need for continuous turning lanes, and I would think this, with the amount of traffic in your facility, is going to draw, and whatever happens in the remaining portion of the land is going to. I just think it requires a turning lane, right? From a gut level, not from a study level.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Haddon?
I do have a question about the traffic study as well. In here, it says it should be noted that the built analysis assumes a new traffic signal is to be constructed at the proposed sheet driveway number 1. I'm sure you're aware that'd be bored by you, right? Sheets will pay for that, whatever needs to be done with that traffic signal, and
Actually, we do have sheets here as well. I guess I'm not familiar with this, of how that's. We're gonna get everyone up here.
Hi, I'm Ellen Selly. I'm with Sheets, 8295 Broadview Road, Broadview Heights. And yes.
Could you spell your last name?
Selle.
Okay, thanks.
And yes, any roadway improvements would be our responsibility, including the signal. So we will work that out with the developer and ourselves to get that in place.
thank you.
Is there anything else? Kathy, how much of the traffic study has to be in place before the recommendation goes to city council? Joe, maybe you can answer that. I mean, how much of this should be worked out before that?
That's the planning commission's discretion. There's no specific code requirement in that regard.
Because there seems like a lot of open-ended questions regarding the traffic. But
Again, sir, if the planning commission is not comfortable making a recommendation to the city council at this time, pending further information, then certainly a prerogative to table it pending that further data.
If I may,
Sure.
When I'm looking over the staff report, it seems we have two areas: a developmental plan, which then deals with the actual use and the actual traffic study of whether that would be approved at that point from the development plan standpoint, which is a separate condition other than rezoning. That we understand that going through rezoning does not guarantee development plan gets approved, and it's my understanding that these issues regarding the traffic study and whether a turn lane there is not would be the contingent part of whether a development plan would actually be approved, separate from the zoning, which would be occurring earlier.
Joe?
Well, the issue with that is, once it's rezoned B2, it's rezoned B2. So the concern always is on these rezones is if the proposal fails for whatever reason, it could be economic conditions, could be, something else relative to developing this site as proposed. Now you've got property that's zoned B2, and obviously the Planning Commission and as well as the City Council and the electorate have to consider. Well, what's in front of them is a Sheetz, convenience store and gas station. Other uses potentially could occur there should this project not come to fruition, or in the future. Obviously, things always change. Businesses come in and out of business, of course, as we're all familiar with. So, the analysis obviously has to be a bit more global relative to what it means to have this property zone B2 above and beyond the specific proposal that's in front of you tonight.
Thank you. Kathy, did you have something?
Well, I was just also going to add, this development plan will go forward with a rezone, and there will be a final development plan process, but there will be a development plan that will be tied to the rezone that will be part of the consideration, not only of council, but of the voters.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Varga?
I notice we have rezoning conditions and development plan conditions. We do talk about the ingress and egress issues as a third condition. I think I'd like to make a fourth condition that just adds to the rezoning condition that we have the left-hand turning lanes in Heisley Road added and signaling, adjusted signaling. Because if it gets rezoned but not developed, at least the condition of rezoning is that those turning lanes are going to be required for the rezoning,
Regardless of what's
what gets developed, because it's going to be business at that point.
Well, I guess the concern I have there is if for whatever reason the development plan doesn't go forward, then that would still require infrastructure and redoing of the roadway, regardless of whether a project goes forward or not. And that's if the rezoning is contingent upon that. I'm not quite sure how then someone would build the road, put a left turn lane in, and maybe the development plan does not go forward, because it would have to be rezoned. If it's rezoned in November, but then the development plan eventually does not get approved, that kind of tells me the roadway still has to be improved regardless of the development plan. So to have it tied to the rezoning seems...
Well, we tied the issue about the egress and ingress to the rezoning. Number 3. This would just extend the traffic concerns to any rezoning of that property would require the turning lanes be included. And that way they'd be included whether the project went ahead or not, or it would be fall back on the next developer.
If I may, though, the site ingress and egress wouldn't have to be developed. That's part of the site development. So you're talking about what would be on a public roadway would have to be developed with the rezone, while the site ingress egress just talks about what's on the site.
I know,
So
but
that wouldn't technically have to be.
but it's a condition of the rezoning.
So can I ask on that, because it's also listed as a condition on our development plan.
Yeah.
So it seems, just to be consistent, that a rezoning wouldn't necessarily dictate what has to be developed. It would just determine what the project limitations were, like whether, so if the next developer, if someone else came in and rezoning was based on a right in, right out, but the next tenant didn't even have access off that road, but would they, per the zoning, would still have to provide a right in, right out. So it seems like those pieces should be separate to the development approval process.
Kathy, you got any reaction to that?
Well, this is very similar to recent rezone that was considered by the city, and if I may ask the law director to expound upon this, because we broke out these conditions specifically because we wanted to tie certain conditions that went with it and not bog down the full rezone with the minute details and just keep it kind of more, at 30,000 feet, if you will. Maybe, Joe, if you can maybe differentiate why we do that, moving forward with the referendum vote.
The referendum vote is solely to take it from a manufacturing classification to the general business classification. The code does not expressly condition such rezones on an approved development plan the way you would do, say, a PUD district or the old RVG that members of the commission may be familiar with. Now, you can, however, place, if the property owner is in agreement, place certain conditions on the rezoning, which they can obviously sign off on, and that's what this process is tonight. More broadly speaking, as in terms of what's on the ballot down the street at the Hendricks intersection, is a little bit more open-ended. There is a development plan, obviously, but there's also additional parcels that have no end user identified. The rezoning is not conditioned on what may or may not get built on those additional parcels. Again, anything that's permitted or conditionally permitted, arguably, in a B2, if that rezoning passes, could get constructed there. Likewise, with the use itself. The rezone does not work a restriction on the district regulations such that, while, yes, there's an approved development plan, it does not mean that some alternate development plan can't be proffered with uses that are permitted, again, or conditionally permitted in the district. I think what you have here is a little bit unique in that there's going to be residue parcels. And so you're looking at this situation, I think has been members of the commission have pointed out, not only as to how this under 3 acres that's the subject of the rezoning may be developed in the future and what type of access points may be appropriate onto Heisley, but also you're looking at that residue and those reconfigured parcels and how those may be developed in the future as well, and the traffic impacts there, which obviously are unknowable. Now, you do know, of course, what businesses are permitted or conditionally permitted in the manufacturing district. And so to the extent you're looking at this more comprehensively, not just the traffic that may be generated from this specific 3-some acres, but the residue as well, when that may ultimately be developed, that's obviously requires a crystal ball, and it's probably not particularly possible to do. It sounds like the concern is that the property owner understand that a rezoning and the development for a use as is intensive, potentially, as the amount of traffic generated from the proposed sheets may require, and they would be required to put in the additional infrastructure improvements, specifically a turn lane. Obviously, the signalization has also been described tonight. So maybe the solution to that is just an acknowledgement that should the engineering indicate a requirement for a turn lane, be it this proposal or another development that may happen in the future, then an acknowledgement that that is on the property owner's responsibility to install that as a condition of development.
Thank you.
So yeah, and we do understand this whole process still will require the city engineer to sign off. So the idea of the traffic study and is that warranted, we understand that, and until we work that through with the city engineer through that development plan process, that's still an approval that we have to comply with. So even not having anything on the actual zoning attached to it, we still have the burden of actually meeting the sign off of the city engineer to make this project go forward.
And this is just a recommendation to council, and could you just explain the rest of the process one more time, Kathy, if you would, where this goes from here?
So following your recommendation, it will go up to city council. They will hold a public hearing themselves and vote on whether the rezone should be approved or not with the development plan. And then at that point in time, if approved, then it will go on to the voters of the city, as long as it meets the timeline that's allotted for.
And just to remember, the timeline, just to confirm too, we knew our timing was tight. We knew this meeting here, if we're approved here, was the last chance to get on the council approval to be able to have a chance to be on the November ballot, was also the timeline we were looking at.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Haddon?
I thought of one more question. Larry, can you pull up the street view again? It actually shows the Heisley Road. My concern is if a left turn is in fact required, a left turn lane, do you feel you can still develop this property? Because obviously we're gonna have to move your property line probably into your property now with the new left turn lane, because we can't go the other way because of the Steris Drive.
Well,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
right, from an engineering standpoint, they did start to look at some possibilities of that, as far as if that was going to be something that was needed, how they would achieve that.
And we don't have the final answer on how that would be achieved. So that's part of the concern and why we need to talk it through with the city engineer. A big picture plan needs to be looked at for that left turn lane. You know, the impacts to, is it our site, is it across the way, all the utilities that are there, you know, there's overhead lines on our site. It's not just as simple as there's enough pavement there, let's just restripe and add another lane. So it's definitely a lot of engineering that will have to go into it. So that's another reason why we really would prefer it not to be on one of the conditions, because there's a lot of discussion that does need to be had around it.
Thank you.
Did you have something? No. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Are we just adding all the conditions together, right?
Yeah,
So there'd be 12 conditions?
or do we vote on them separately? The rezoning versus?
It's together. It's all
All- it's
together. We
together?
were just breaking them
So
out
there's
to
12,
to
yeah.
distinguish, but it's
I
together.
understand.
All right, so motion to approve with the 12 conditions.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rossetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
No.
Mr. Cook?
No. Thank you. Under old business, we have a miscellaneous review to amend the approved development plan at 8155 Menor Hills Drive. I'll entertain a motion to remove this from the table.
So moved?
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rossetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, is that applicant here? Please come up, give us your name and address, and tell us a little bit about what you want to do.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Ken Asiron. I'm with the Capital Health Group out of Baltimore. And we're proposing to change the use of the building from an assisted living facility and a memory care building. Actually, it's all memory care, excuse me. And to change it to a Jerry Psych Hospital and a adult residential behavioral care facility.
Is that all?
That's all. Did I miss anything? No, that's it. That's our request.
Kathy, anything from the administration?
I guess I would ask the applicant, it would be helpful to kind of expound upon the two uses and the maintenance of the memory care wing. So we have three wings altogether. And in light of the discussion that was had at the last meeting, could you please expand on, I think we have a good understanding of the geriatric psych hospital, but the third component, which is the behavioral therapy and its concentration on older adults.
Hi, Morse Long, 12037 Layton Court, Carmel, Indiana, 46032. Yeah, so on the three units there, we're proposing two of those be primarily geriatric inpatient acute psych. That's not long-term psych. That's about a 14 to 16-day length of stay. Then they go back to mostly where they came from would be long-term cares, facilities, ALs, some SNFs, some from family homes. The other unit would be an older adult and adult behavioral, ones that don't quite meet the need for inpatient, but they got to have more than an outpatient setting. That is also in acute care. It's not a long-term resident program. It's usually somewhere between 21 to 30 days on behaviors. They have a psychiatric diagnosis. They have a behavior diagnosis, impulsive behaviors. They might have some type of, screaming, running around. They could, things like that, hitting people, things like that. But they just don't quite meet the criteria as defined by CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, for inpatient psychiatric. So they need to go somewhere instead of, being at home, causing more issues and wait until something else happens more serious. So then they become a psychiatric patient for the inpatient. So we're trying to catch that gap. It'd be sometimes you'd use it before, and if they fail that program, then they would qualify for an inpatient. Sometimes after short days in the inpatient side, they might be ready to go back to that residential before the transition back home. What we're trying to do is cut out the readmission rates. You have a lot in behavior and psychiatric because there's really none of that continuation of care. And we're trying to incorporate that continuation of care into this unit. So we're not looking at 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. We're looking at that older adult for the residential in that 50s, like my age. I'm 58. I shouldn't be in a geriatric facility, and I really shouldn't be in an adult facility. I think I'm a little bit too old for that younger group. So it's that age group kind of functionally in that tweener, so to speak, that would handle that. Programming, of course, it's a locked facility, 24 hours, double locked facility, psychiatrists, psychologists, internal medicine, social workers, therapists, etc. So hope that helps clears that up a little bit.
Thank you. Kathy, anything from administration?
One more thing, in Mr. Larson's memo to the commission, he did define for us elderly frail population, which was the emphasis, and I just want to reinforce that that is the intent of this behavioral therapy facility, because we've actually written that as a condition, recognizing that you're serving the needs of the assisted living folks, but who need more specialized care. They may not be also coming directly from an assisted living, but a lot of them do, correct? So, I guess I just want to make sure that
Sure.
that the definition that was provided to us is the intent of that third wing there too.
Two different service lines. So the geriatric inpatient psych, we call it geriatric, and traditionally that's gone like 65 and older. But as we get closer to 65, in my case, I don't know if that's geriatric anymore, right? So it's really that frail is everybody's mind. It's the functionality, what we go with. Do they function like a senior citizen? And it could be a 58-year-old that functions like a senior citizen. It could be, a 75-year-old that doesn't function like a senior citizen that needs to go somewhere else, not to our facility. The residential behavior psychiatric side is more for the older adult, like I just spoke about, the tweeners. That's going to be that 40s and late 40s and 50s and 60s, where they really don't belong in an inpatient because they don't meet criteria, but they don't belong in it. If they did, they don't belong in that inpatient side. So we're trying to catch some of that gap before they go to an inpatient setting and help them back and forth. Some of those will come from home. A lot of those will come from ERs or home. But 99% of our patients for geriatrics is all long-term care ALs. Does that kind of clear it up a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the intent, it's not going to be our policy to take, we're not taking 20-year-old patients. They're not getting the patients from jail. We're not taking them from the probate courts, the 20s and 30s. Now, we're not taking a 55, 70-year-old, but as long as they're nonviolent. Our setting's going to be we're not equipped for that. We're not a state institution,
Thank you. Anything from the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Varga.
So there's three basic program components to what you're proposing. And as I look at the existing facility, there's three kind of separate building areas. Is that a direct relationship between each section of the building has a program in it?
No, I anticipate two of them will be geriatric psych, and the third one more the residential. Okay. So the primary purpose is geriatric psych. So I see two of those.
And I noticed reference to part of this facility being a hospital.
Correct.
Is the, and this doesn't necessarily come under the planning umbrella of concern, but I'm kind of interested. Does the physical construction of the facility you have there now meet the building code requirements for a hospital, which is very
No.
stringent?
Yeah, it is very stringent. Yeah, it is acute care hospital license. So we are just licensed like any other hospital you see down the street. The only thing different is we are deemed psychiatric, not acute care. So on that, it will have to come up to standards. All new wiring, HVAC unit, anti-ligature.
So
It'll be a
there'll
hefty,
major renovation.
hefty renovation budget, unfortunately.
And does the program have any recreational or exterior spaces that are part of the program?
As you see, they have the courtyard. So we'll have to basically.
Those will suffice.
Those will be in there. They won't be out there by themselves, right? Because even a spry 80-year-old could somehow jimmy up to the roof. So they'll be totally supervised when they're out in that area. But it's a lockdown facility. So we'll meet all the requirements by the Joint Commission standards as well as the State Department of Mental Health and Addiction.
And will the facility allow visitation, family and friends and such?
Yeah, it's been like my partner here, who's here today, and myself. We've been doing this about 20 years, and we believe 24-hour visitation. Now, I don't know everybody's circumstances. Maybe you work second shifts. You can't make it during the day, but you get off at 11, and your father's been in there, and he's always worked nights, so he's going to be up all the time. He's not going to go just because he's 80 years old. He worked 40 years in the factory, third shift. He's not going to bed now at 10 o'clock at night. So as long as they're not sleeping or with a patient, doesn't disturb anybody else, we have visitation rooms. So they can come in, just make arrangements. Any other time, we'll have stated visiting hours every day, 7 days a week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Demon.
Just wanted to touch on the transportation of patients, because it is brought up in the write-up here. We really don't want to see a strain on our emergency vehicles and personnel. So do you guys provide the transport?
Yeah, we have our own ambulance company.
Okay.
So we'll provide transport, be a basic life support, as well as more like a wheelchair van for those who don't need the stretcher, so-called. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll use emergency for emergencies. If somebody has a heart attack, if somebody,
Right.
of course, unfortunately falls, and that will happen at that age group, but no more than what you're probably seeing at the current residents right now. It's basically the same age population.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with the 3 conditions.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rossetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Under new business, we have a minor subdivision of a residential property at 5501 West Heisley Road. Is that applicant here? Come on up, give us your name and address. Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do.
I'm Rick Caldwell, Little Mountain Homes. Business address is 1447 North Ridge Road in Painesville. We have a client that would like to build on 5501 West Heisley. And currently, 5501 West Heisley is split. So we've got about 0.39 acres on the east side of West Heisley, and then we have like 0.15 on the west side. My customer doesn't have any interest on the small part of property that's on the west side, just from a maintenance standpoint and liability. The seller of the property is Annie Klesnick. She owns property adjacent to the 0.15. So what we're wanting to do is to combine that with her property, and that way my client can just have the 0.39 on the east side.
Thank you. Kathy, anything from the administration?
No, we provided the history in the staff report if anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Anything from the commission members?
It wasn't completely clear to me. The piece, the residue piece, the small piece, is being combined with this large piece of property? Is that, okay, I wasn't quite sure that's what was intended. And then there still seems to be another little triangle there, but that's somebody else's property.
Somebody else's parcel.
They're not interested in it. Okay, I understand.
Thank you. Is there anything else? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rosetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have an architectural reimage of a commercial building, Federales, at 8787 Menor Avenue. Is that applicant here?
Yes.
Please give us your name and address.
Bill Thompson, 2710 Northland Street, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, 44221.
Talk about a little bit what happened.
Okay, I come for you today. First, I'd like to say I apologize for the paint change debacles that we incurred. We were approved here before with certain colors as well as maintaining the stone in its natural state. And due to some miscommunications with the painters and paint swabs and everything else, it wasn't adhered to. So I'm here before you to see if you guys could take a look. I forwarded some pictures today. I don't know if Larry was able to, that came and took the drone shots. This is what the building looks currently. It was not the approved colors that you guys approved the first time. So I'm here to see if we could possibly approve this layout and this colors, and if you guys would accept us with the current colors as is, or what you would like us to do at this point, because we didn't adhere to what you guys required the first time.
Thank you. Kathy, do you have anything? Can we put up the approved as well, or kind of toggle back and forth?
We're still not clear on the actual color of the brick that is now on the building, and I don't believe it's the gray shadows, so it looks to be more like a beige or a buff. So that color is lighter than what was approved on the base, and then obviously the roof and the roof and the trim and the ephes was a dark gray, and this is now black. And the middle column, the brick veneer was not to be painted, and it was painted.
Yeah, so as far as the light portion of the brick, it's, I don't know how to defend myself here. It is still a lighter color. It shows great contrast. The building looks fantastic, in my opinion. I did have a picture in there of the stone after they painted the building that I forwarded to you, Larry, that showed why the painter took it upon himself to paint it, because it just didn't look, it was, he said it just didn't match up. So by the time Larry, or the person drove through and said, hey, Bill, the colors didn't match what we approved, it was already too late at that point for me to go ahead and make any corrections. But that's what it had looked like. They had left the stone alone, and then the painter took it upon himself to match the brick with the roof. So at this point, again, I'm here to see how you guys would like me to proceed at this moment. We could possibly return that brick back to that color. I don't think we're going to be able to return the brick back to its natural state because of its painted out. So in hopes you guys, with the parking lot being redone and the color scheme as is, in the hopes that you guys would approve it this way.
Thank you.
I'd like to also mention one thing. Dennison and Hanneman, they just basically, they're our landlords. They gave us approval to paint, but they had no accountability or liability on their color debacles or anything. They were basically signing the approval that we could paint. They had no recollection or notification of what colors we were doing. So hopefully this doesn't fall back on them at all.
Thank you. Anything from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Varga.
I think you got to make an attempt to clean that stone off. I know it's going to be extremely hard. I don't have any good ideas for you, other than maybe some scrubbing, some paint remover, some sandblasting, something. I'm not sure. But the town is one of the things we always try to encourage is natural brick, natural materials, natural stone. And so we kind of lost that as a major component of the elevation. So it would be my disposition that you try a number of things to try to return that to a reasonable, natural surface. I'm not speaking for everyone, but that's what my suggestion is. Also, something that's actually more distressing is the notations here about the fact that the roof was painted with interior paint. Is that true?
Not to my knowledge, it was an exterior paint. They would have used an exterior paint.
Well, could someone from the city speak to that?
They provided us with the paint can lids
Yeah?
to show colors, and that's where I believe we saw the
And the
wording.
lid that they provided was
There it is, interior
Plus
satin.
interior.
interior paint. Now, that will not last.
Yeah.
That will, especially on a metal roof. So my,
I don't
that,
have an
that,
excuse for that.
that paint would have to be stripped and the metal surface prepared to receive an proper exterior color. Yeah, I mean, it just won't last. 3 years from now, it'll be on the sidewalk. It will not stay. Now, if that's somehow a misnomer, if that's not true, but there's the proof right in front.
Well, I'm gonna have to research that, sir. I don't know if that, maybe they gave us, upon me finding out what had happened, I wasn't really happy with the situation because I came before you guys and got something approved.
Sure.
So I don't know if maybe that color was used on the inside, and when I asked for the paint swabs to be handed to me and forwarded to me immediately that I needed the colors so we could refile with you guys, I don't know if maybe they sent me the wrong paint can or not, but I will definitely go ahead and research that and forward that to you.
Was this acquired on the site, the paint can?
They forwarded us the pictures.
I
They
forwarded that
forwarded
to
the
them, yes.
picture, okay.
That's what was forwarded to me and I forwarded to them.
All right, well, I would, that's as much of a concern to me as the
Yes, sir.
wrong colors.
I can
because-
appreciate that.
Because that will not hold up over time.
Yes, sir.
So if you could confirm that,
Absolutely.
that would be and that is the right color, though? All right. So,
No, it's,
Well, it's not the color that you approved, it's the,
oh, and even that's not the color we approved.
No, sir.
wrong paint, wrong color.
Okay. Well, I can't speak for everybody else. I'd like to see everything the right color. Just paint it the way we approved it. That's why you come before us. That's why we go through this process. That's why you went through the process. I would change the wall color, the roof color, especially if it's interior paint. But that'd have to be repaired. I mean, that's taking it off. But if it's just the wrong color, paint it the right color. I'm not doing this for my health.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I know we're talking about paint, but just looking at the pictures of the parking lot, I recall around the patio area, there was going to be protection installed. When is that planned? Because it looks like your parking lot's done and ready for business, but you don't have the patio protection, the bollards, the fence. I believe that was part of the
I
last.
don't
approval, too.
recall saying there was gonna be protection. That's the way it existed as Dairy Queen. We got a provisional use for use of that. I don't recall us putting up any type of barriers or anything that we were gonna put up barriers or it was required to put up barriers. That's the way it was used in the past, and we were just asking for conditional usage to continue to use it that way. Where we're gonna put some type of metal type picnic benches out there for people to sit outside if they wanted to.
Kathy, was that a condition and
we're verifying with the decision letter. I recall it being in there, but I want to just confirm.
double check here? In real time?
The reality is, under almost all circumstances, any outdoor seating is protected from any adjacent parking area by bollards and fencing. As a matter of course, let them see.
Now we just have to read it. I can't see it.
Parking, yeah.
There, number one.
Bollards.
1173.10.
And that was in the conditional use of the
Outdoor dining
outdoor dining. Okay, we'll get that taken care of.
and the wheel stops, yeah. Oh, there, yeah.
I think there were wheel stops in the picture.
Yeah. And that's to protect people sitting at the table in case someone hits drive instead of reverse from the parking area. They don't drive right into the eating area. So there has to be enough bollards to block.
Would we be able to have an architect come in and design us a new patio and have all that stuff put in on the design work and then submit those for permits? Because I don't think that, I know this group, and that patio isn't gonna, they're gonna wanna upgrade that eventually anyways. So maybe that's the step I take, put in the bollards, but let's go ahead and I'm gonna have the architect build us out a nice patio. They like to put in patios, bollards, fencing, pergolas, things of that nature as well. So we'll see.
They
if
tend to incorporate that all in to make it not look like you're tying up a ship.
Okay.
So the reality of that is that you wouldn't be able to use it as a patio now.
Okay, fair enough.
Correct?
Right.
Until they provided an additional design to expand the use.
We haven't done final inspection yet, so that would be noted in the inspection.
So we're voting to approve this new one, but right now, if it doesn't get approved, you fall back to what's approved.
Well, you read the conditions. The conditions.
We're voting to put the stone back the way it was.
Yes.
Put it back the way it is.
Number 3 is exterior paint. Number 2 is the exterior colors that were approved.
Can I ask
Sure.
this
That's
regarding the stone? I really feel sandblasting and paint thinner and everything. What if we were to box that out and restone the face of it with something like that would match
That's fine.
the current colors, like a nice gray, like a nice, and get that approved by the
That might be
council.
easier.
I just think aesthetically it'll look nicer, because I feel if we go and sandblast that and the mortar's gonna come loose, it's just gonna be a train wreck.
Is it just the thin stone?
Yeah,
You might just be able to pop it off and put new stone on.
Like a veneer.
Yeah. You may not even have to cover it.
Okay.
You may be able to pop that off and put new stone on, and
I'll have to have
I'm
that
not telling you what to
evaluated
do,
then.
I'm just saying.
Do you want to see it again?
I think you should come before us with a proposal that includes all these
For sure,
alterations.
absolutely.
So what?
You can table it so he
then we
doesn't
should
have to.
table it. So we're gonna table this, right? Propose for table?
So at this point, the colors are okay, I just have to fix the stone?
Nope.
Nope.
No, we have to return back to the colors that were approved first, okay.
The 5 conditions, right, but we're gonna table it.
It's all tabled.
It's on
So right now, the only thing that's
Gonna vote
approved is what
first.
was approved
Let's-
at the
let's get
July
a vote
3rd
on
meeting.
this.
Okay, I don't know.
Is there a motion to table?
I'll make one if you want.
Okay.
Motion to table.
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rossetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Thanks.
See you again, guys.
We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Number 7, we have a site alteration, parking lot expansion at 8420 and 8434 Menor Avenue. Is that applicant here? Come on up, give us your name and address, and tell us a little bit about what you want to do. Please.
Sure. My name is Dhiren Patel. I am located at 8434 Mentor Avenue, Mentor, Ohio. So there is a parking lot which is a gravel at 8420 Mentor Avenue, which is just next to the hotel, Best Western Plus Hotel. So we want to convert the gravel parking lot into the concrete parking lot.
Okay. Thank you. Kathy, anything from the administration you want to?
You know, just to provide a little history, obviously you all know that it's a gravel parking lot. When the prior owners were on site, there was discussions, and actually, I don't, well, maybe Jeff was here, but in 2016, this was considered to do a development plan was considered to improve the parking lot, and it was indefinitely tabled because of the Menor Avenue Road widening that was happening at the time. And so it was tabled, and then there was also some litigation that was involved with that and the particular owners of the hotel at the time. The owners were intending to come back in 2019 with a plan, which is the 2019 plan that's actually in front of you. However, they decided to sell the hotel. And when they did, as Mr. Patel indicated to us, they were not aware of those intentions. And so the parking lot was left as this. Unfortunately, COVID hit and everything took a downturn. And so that's why it sat for a while. And so the city reached out to the owners of the hotel, and they have been communicating with us on trying to get these improvements. And Mr. Patel is aware of the requirements now. He wasn't at the time, and the concern is that not only is there a hotel, but there's a restaurant, and that's why we want to make sure that there's enough parking for both. Obviously, right now, the parcels are they're individual parcels, but we would recommend consolidating them so that there's no concern moving forward. If at some point in time, there was a future development, it could be split again, but it should be consolidated for purposes of the uses there.
Thank you. Anything from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Varga?
I just had I just want to clarify this based on the old sketch that's in front of us. Condition 5 and 6 eliminates the drive through to the, I guess that's Cleveland Clinic space. That'll be removed. There'll be no movement of cars between
We're not
those.
aware of any cross-access easements, and unless they're provided, that should be removed.
Okay, so that's going to be removed, and also from this parcel, the driveway to Menor Avenue, so that you'll get to this parking lot by entering their main parking lot and going through the
Correct.
connecting
Yeah.
aisle, and that'll keep their traffic internal to these two lots.
Yeah, the engineering and emergency services weren't comfortable with the two so close together, so.
And I'm not happy with the ones you're going to eliminate because people come around the corner there, and it's coming off of Center Street, and making the left-hand or right-hand turn in there, right, people are trying to get out and turn left. It doesn't work. So that's good. One driveway.
So I understand the concern about the Center Street, but can we at least keep the entrance from the Cleveland Clinic onto the parking lot in case if we have to lease out the parking lot in future?
You want to explain that too?
There'd have to be
You-
easement and agreements in place with the adjoining property owner.
Did you hear what she said?
Yeah. So you're saying.
Well, you could do it. I don't have a problem with that one, but you need to have an agreement.
Agreement.
A written agreement between their property
and ours.
and your property.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that may be more convenient, but you have to have a deal.
Okay. So we just have to return. Okay. Got it.
Is there anything else? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with the 9 conditions.
Second.
The sixth condition would require a crossed easement, rather than elimination, a crossed easement agreement with 7533 Center Street property.
So lay that condition out for Jackie.
Okay.
Number 6.
Requires a cross easement agreement with the owners of 7533 Center Street property.
Eliminate the word eliminate.
Eliminate.
Okay.
Well,
Shall require a cross-access easement.
Shall be required.
shall be required. Okay. See, that's why I don't write these things.
Yeah, that's why.
We're glad.
Bump.
Bubble.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rosetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Architectural reimage of an office building at 7470 Center Street. Is that applicant here? Please come up, give us your name and address. Tell us a little bit about what you want to do. Please. Please.
Please.
My name is Dylan Denig with LDA Architects, business address 5000 Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. And we are proposing the reconfiguration of the existing 7470 Center Street house. So changes to this project will include the proposed removal of the front entrance door along the east side of the building facing Center Street, and with the addition of a new entry vestibule on the west side of the building. Other exterior changes include the proposal of a new exterior accessibility ramp, as well as entry stairway facing that parking lot on the west side of the building. We are proposing new exterior materials for the building, which I've brought siding samples for. On the east side facing Center Street, we are proposing the color English Wedgwood, a mastic siding, which will be a shake finish, which closely resembles the shake siding on the east facade of the building directly to the north. And then we are proposing horizontal lap siding around the rest of the building everywhere else. We are also proposing a new window trim, which will just be white AZAC around the windows, and the corner trim will be the same color as the siding, which will be that English Wedgwood. And yeah, there's the color boards I've submitted.
Okay. Thank you. Kathy, anything from the administration?
We think it looks great, and since you went to the trouble of bringing the material, I know you just want to hold it up so they can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I unfortunately don't have the shake siding sample. The general contractor wasn't able to get that for me, but I have. This is the mastic horizontal lap siding and the English Wedgwood finish. It's a medium grayish blue, which will be installed everywhere minus the east elevation facing Center Street. And then this is just, typical AZAC trim board, which will be installed around all the windows and then, beneath the roof as well. And on the existing building, the existing roof is to remain, which is somewhat of a light grayish color. So the new roof on the entry vestibule we are proposing on the west side of the building, we picked out a certainteed roof, which matches somewhat the grayish roof of the existing house.
Thank you. Anything from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Tiedemann.
Just a quick question. On this house, it looks like the foundation brick is exposed. Are you doing anything with that?
We are not. That is to remain as is, as
Not
existing.
changing the color or anything? Okay. Okay, good.
And it's brick, and then you can see it transitions to a CMU around that side of the house.
That's it, thanks.
Thank you. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Varga.
This isn't necessarily part of a planning review, but being that this is all office use, have you verified that you do have enough exit capacity of the building when it's when the use is
We do,
office?
yes. So part of the adjudication, which I resubmitted, which I'm sure I'll have to deal with the building department regarding this. We had to expand our restroom on the first floor, which is now accessible, but in terms of life safety and occupancy, we should have no issues getting an approval there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with the 6 conditions.
Second?
Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Haddon?
Yes.
Mr. Rosetti?
Yes.
Mr. Tiedemann?
Yes.
Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy, anything?
Nothing else.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.